Not only is Hunt Showdown one of the most underrated games of all time, starting with last generation, going into its life cycle into this console generation, it's perhaps one of the greatest games of all time, in my opinion. Pretty big claim considering my PlayStation 4 library has consisted of over 250 games alone, and I have played all of them, not counting my PS3 library, all the Xbox 360 games, PS2 games, GameCube games, PlayStation 1 games, original Xbox games, Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, and countless other console generation games that I have played throughout my entire life. So what makes Hunt Showdown so dang good? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Hey everyone, it's Pillager Ascended, bringing you a commentary video. Of course, as I've already mentioned, this is on Hunt Showdown. Perhaps one of the most surprising things to me in the entire video game culture, community of all games, all consoles, all platforms, is how few people have actually played this game. Now, this game has actually increased in popularity over the years, and I feel like while a lot of people who play the game really do enjoy it, I feel like it's an experience that is really just more for the hardcore player base, and so it does tend to, because of that, alienate the players who probably want a more casual experience. This game is only sweaty. This, again, is not your casual get home from work, sit on the couch, and play this game for the next hour, 2, 3 hours as you wind down for the night. This game is intense. Every single time you boot this game up, you are going to be on the edge of your seat. You are going to be experiencing some form of stress as you try to navigate the zombie-infested world. It is scary. It is intense. The weapons that the enemies use on you are lethal. Practically 1-shot, 2-shot, maybe 3-shot, and then you're dead. The bosses that you find in the world are going to kill you pretty easily if you don't know how to fight against them. The zombies in the world are going to be scary, unnerving, and in many cases can ruin your day if you're not prepared or skilled enough to handle them, especially the dogs, which cause a lot of bleeding effects. There are so many elements and variables that come into play when determining how and why this game is not for a casual player. The enemies in the environment are extremely deadly and extremely terrifying. The enemies that you find that are other players are even more so deadly, potentially able to kill you in 1 or 2 shots. The combat is going to be stressful. They can hear every footstep that you make, and you can hear every footstep that they make. Tracking an enemy position is pretty easy if they're moving quickly enough. This game is stressful. This game fills you with anxiety. But is that why I love it? I can't necessarily say that it is or isn't, but what I can tell you is that this game takes me seriously as a gamer. I can tell you that the gunplay, the gameplay overall, and the mechanics are extremely fun. The gunplay focuses on extremely realistic late 1800 weapons, which I really enjoy. The gameplay has extremely competitive vibes and feelings that keep it so if I beat an enemy team, I feel extremely rewarded. This isn't just another Call of Duty match. The hunter that you brought into the game is going to be permanently dead forever, and you're going to have to start over with a new one. The gameplay you're seeing in the background during this video are actually 3 consecutive games that I had in a row. The first 2 are with me and 2 other friends, and the third game, which takes place during night, is just me and one of the friends after the other one, or the third one, has left. One thing you'll notice as you watch the gameplay and pay really close attention to my teammates, my friends, is that when we encounter enemy players, an enemy team, they start to move really slow, if they even move at all. They stay crouched. That is a meta choice. That is something that is strategically viable, as the enemy can hear, again, like I mentioned, every single footstep you make that isn't extremely slow-paced and crouched the entire time. If you're standing up and moving, even at a normal walk pace, let alone a sprint pace, your footprints will be heard through the entire building by everyone. It goes without saying that Call of Duty has a huge player base, and that a lot of people who play video games have played Call of Duty one way or another, online, competitively, through player versus player, team deathmatch, domination, whatever it might be. And with that being said, one of the biggest complaints or topics of conversation amongst the entire Call of Duty community is the sound of footsteps when enemies are sprinting or moving around the map. Well, usually the discourse goes that enemy footprints or your footprints are too loud and enemies can just hear you coming or hear enemies coming from way too far away. Depending on the person you talk to, there is a lot of conversation to be had about this. Just because I'm sprinting doesn't mean you should be able to hear me from a building and a half away. But in Hunt Showdown, I think it goes without saying, and it's almost unanimous, that all players appreciate the feedback that there is an enemy team nearby. Even if you don't see them, you can hear them. They're rumbling, they're rustling, they're stepping on cans, stepping on glass. The environment provides additional noise based on what they step on. This ends up having every gunfight you have with enemy players be slow-paced, tactical, whoever moves first is the first person to be heard type gunfights. It really is just a game of cat versus cat, not cat and mouse, as usually the person who moves the most or starts running is the person who dies first. Danger and death are around every corner and practically guaranteed. From a statistical standpoint, this game is not for the faint of heart, like I mentioned before. It is going to be difficult. You are going to struggle. The characters that you bring into the matches are going to die before they ever reach a retirement age, both literally and for the sake of a metaphor. Yes, characters you bring into matches can eventually be retired after they rank up or level up so many times. The bonuses or benefits of retiring them after they reach max level is that you get a whole bunch of XP for you as the player, which unlocks more guns, more weapons, and more tools for you to use for future hunters. I am not proud to say, but I am also not ashamed to say, that Destiny 2 is the game I have played the most of compared to any other game in my entire life. This is simply because it is a casual, able to play with friend game that I can sit down from work and play. I don't have to be stressed going against other players in a PvP experience, unless I wanted to. There are extremely casual experiences to be had with Destiny 2, and you can do it with friends, and you can do it under low pressure. You can sit there and grind new content. You can sit there and grind the experience with friends or even with people you don't know, and it's totally low risk, but it's also low reward. Potentially getting just more resources, but also, again, the more competitive or hardcore aspects have higher rewards. Say whatever you want about Destiny 2. I get all sides of the argument as to why the game might be considered good or bad, but the game has the luxury of being able to be the game for you to play when you just want a casual experience to sit down and grind content. This game, however, does not have that same luxury. It can't afford it. It is hardcore, it is intense, and it forces you in all aspects and in all available game modes to be on the edge of your seat, to be competitive, and to be on the constant watch out for imminent death. Now don't be fooled, there are so many games that exist out there that in their nature are considered competitive. Overwatch, Valorant, Counter-Strike, regardless of whether you like those games or not, they are, in their nature, competitive. They are player versus player experiences, and the entire goal is to win. Call of Duty is in the same category or type of game, but people play them casually because the intensity is what really drives them. It motivates them to play the game, to win, to overcome obstacles and difficulties and be better than the other noobs you're going against. For many people, that is a motivator. For others, it might be a deterrent. I encourage all players who are motivated in player versus player settings to play Hunt Showdown. I encourage all players or gamers who love guns to play Hunt Showdown. I encourage all players who love competition and strategic gameplay to play Hunt Showdown. Especially for console gamers who want an extraction shooter similar to Escape from Tarkov, but that's just not an option to them. For gamers who love player versus player games like Call of Duty or Overwatch or pretty much anything else that you can think of, but you really want to kick up the intensity a notch, 2, maybe even 20 notches, maxing out the intensity, I recommend Hunt Showdown. It's going to be the game that you're really going to want to play if that's something you're looking for. On the other hand, if the intensity doesn't seem like something you are interested in, I encourage you not to play the game. If you don't want to be in a terrifying world surrounded by zombies, hunting down a big zombie boss to be found in the map, while also potentially being hunted down by enemy players who are extremely lethal to encounter, yeah, this game might not be for you. This game is intense, it's unforgiving, it's punishing, but that's the point. That is what this game is in its essence. It's a hunt, and hunts always end in someone or something dying. But overall, that is where we're going to wrap up the video. I extract this third game in a row. Like I mentioned, all these games were consecutive with my friends, my teammates, and I had a blast. I always have a blast playing this game. I love this game. I am extremely optimistic for the future of this game. I hope more players give it a try. The player base seems to be pretty healthy now, but of course, like any other game that has a healthy player base, there's always room to grow. I invite you to try the game. I invite you to play the game. It's amazing. Thank you for your time. This is Pillager, Pillager Ascended, and I will see you in my next video. Peace.
Pretty good.